There were 30,000 picket signs against racism at Westminster on Saturday. Some to oppose Donald Trump's Muslim ban, some to protest Theresa May's refugee policy, and some were there to educate on how climate change is a racist issue.
Man-made climate change is basically the result of mostly developed countries' greed for energy. It is racist because it is the people who are most affected by climate change already are not the people who have caused it.
In 2016, the U.S. emitted 17.3 tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. India emitted 1.4 tons of CO2. And the entirety of Africa emitted just 0.9 tons of CO2 into the atmosphere. These low numbers of CO2 emissions coming from India and Africa are because those countries primarily run on biomass instead of fossil fuels.
If you created the problem in the past, we will create it in the future. We have 700 million households who cook using biomass today, 700 million households. If those households move to coal, you have that much more use of fossil fuel.
Extreme weather patterns are the environment's reaction to too many carbon emissions from fossil fuels. Assessments based on those extreme weather patterns determine the coming Climate Change Vulnerability Index. 2017 shows the risks are greatest in the developing world. The marchers at Westminster talked about the link between climate change and racism.
So when people talk about climate change, they should actually look at the poverty that's been created.
Racism is getting exacerbated by problems of climate change because if you have a lack of resources, people get more aggressive towards each other. So they're both linked and making each other worse.
I think in developing countries, I think people just feel, well, it doesn't really matter. And they don't try as hard to explain these things as elsewhere.
So what is the first step in fixing racist energy inequality?
So we need to sort of disentangle the relationship between living standards and extreme uses of energy.
Catherine Sheets, City Global News.